Dr. Malgan, we understand that you have considerable experience in cases involving the so-called clean slate law. Firstly, can you give us some brief background on your own career and how you came to be practicing in this area of the criminal law?
Well, I'm a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor for 30 years, but more recently I've qualified in law and I'm interested in the criminal law. I like helping people. I like advocacy in court. I like that sort of thing. And I currently practice both the professions. Half of my week is legal cases and half of my week is medical work.
Can you explain how the clean slate law works in New Zealand and why it's so important when it comes to employment prospects?
Well, I'll address why it's important first. It's long been recognised that criminal convictions carry a stigma which is out of proportion to how serious they really might be. And if a person did something stupid when they were drunk, they were a student, they committed an assault, they were shoplifting, then 30 years later it can come up and prevent people advancing in their careers. And that's why the law was passed. And it says that any minor offence will be concealed. It's not wiped, it's concealed after 7 years, so that when an employer asks for your conviction record, it won't appear. It will still appear for certain things, like overseas visas, but not for employment. And there's a little fish hook in the middle of the Act that even a more serious offence, which is not automatically clean slated, can be clean slated on the order of a judge. And that's where I was successful in obtaining the first of these orders for a serious offence.
So if you have a conviction for such a serious offence and haven't served a custodial sentence, are there really any chances to get that conviction disregarded?
Yeah, so what you said there is a very important threshold. Anybody who's been to prison for their criminal offence, that will be on their record for life. You can't do anything about that. But if you didn't go to prison, then potentially you could argue that you're no longer a threat to society, and that's the test in the Act. The judge has to decide, are you a threat to society? If you've spent 20 years without offending, then you've got a good argument that you're probably not, but it does come down to the decision of a judge.
The particular case that you first brought forward, the clean slate provision, was, I think, Police and D.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that case?
So this was 2018, and a man approached me. He had a 20-year-old conviction for a sexual offence. And he'd lived the rest of his time without offending. He'd done well in the world. He had professional employment, but he wanted to move into a new area, which was conviction sensitive. And so I looked at the Act and I said, well, we can apply for one of these orders. But when it was researched, it became apparent that it had never been done before. And so it was something of a novelty. And I obtained a report from a forensic psychiatrist, which is usually what you do with these things, to show the judge there's an independent opinion that he does not represent any risk of offending again. And on that occasion, we were unsuccessful in the district court, but we went to the High Court and the order was awarded. And that High Court judgment is now precedent for these applications, and a number of applications based on D and police have now been awarded. And I have personally had another 3 clients that I was successful in obtaining orders for, and I understand anecdotally that various other colleagues are now able to get these orders as a result of that case.
Great. So if someone looking at this interview has a conviction or convictions for serious criminal offences, or knows someone in such a position, and where their prospects of employment are low, or are likely to be low because of the criminal record, what advice can you give them as to whether they may be able to apply for clean slate?
Well, as long as they didn't go to prison for the actual offence we're talking about, then they need to pick up the phone. And I'm happy to take phone calls or emails. The details are on the website, and there is no charge for an initial consultation. So it's possible to work out quite quickly on the phone whether or not a person is in a position where they're likely to succeed with one of these applications.
You seem to be very passionate about helping people out here. Is there a reason for that?
I think it's a carryover from the medical world. It is a bit of a thrill to help people out, to put their lives back on track. I practice in Rubicon Chambers And my colleagues all feel the same way. That is one of the appeals of practicing law, helping people with a problem that would otherwise be intractable.
Dr. Melvin, thanks so much for this interview. You can be contacted on details which are provided at the end of this interview. Thank you.
Thank you.